Welcome to the Awakened Human Podcast, the place to be for highly progressive yet extremely grounded intuitive guidance, energetic support, metaphysical tools, and higher consciousness for highly successful, ambitious, soul-centered visionaries and leaders like you who want to make a global impact and achieve your highest fulfillment by aligning with your soul's true divine agenda and your role in God's plan of lighted creation, and by utilizing your divine gifts, talents, and abilities from the higher realms. We do this by working with the non-physical realms of higher guidance, energy, intuition, and powerful metaphysical tools for healing and transformation. We understand that the real change and transformation that's being called for on planet Earth and in our own lives and our own businesses doesn't come from outside of us, but rather from within. And that the change that we desire to experience in our lives and in our world requires us to change from the inside. I'm your host, Lori-Ann Spagna. I'm a best-selling author, spiritual catalyst, intuitive, energy worker, ascension guide, multidimensional channel, animal communicator, visionary, lightworker, and luminary. I have dedicated my entire professional life to helping thousands and thousands of humans and animals all over the world in service and contribution to the light, which is the expansion, the upliftment, the evolution of humanity, to awaken, to uplift, and to align with our true divine source, which exists within each and every one of us. It is my passion, joy, and purpose to share this information, energy, and consciousness with you. Thank you so much for being here today and for sharing time with me. Let's get started.
Well, hello, you magnificent being, you brilliant, radiant being of light. It is absolutely wonderful to be with you here today. I love doing this podcast. I love it so much because I get to share with you, and I love what I bring through, and I feel like it's really helpful. I've been getting some great feedback. If you've been loving the show too, please share it with others. That helps it get out there, please. And you can do that by tagging or just sharing the link or writing a review even. That would be so awesome. Sharing is caring, and share the love. And thank you for being here. Thank you guys for being here. Today, we're going to talk about what I call not your flavor of ice cream, or not my flavor of ice cream. This is really, I hope, going to be helpful for those of you who are light leaders, in the world doing great work. And if, by the way, you'll love this podcast, also that will resonate, if this resonates with you, what we're going to talk about today, make sure you watch the episode on coming out of the spiritual closet. So, which was just probably about 2 episodes ago, approximately, before this one. So let's talk a little bit about not your flavor of ice cream. One of the things that light leaders and visionaries sometimes can struggle with, and especially entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, is this concept that you want to be liked. And you know that you're not always going to be liked by everybody, but you don't want to sort of upset the apple cart, right? And sometimes that means you have to come out of the spiritual closet if you're in the woo-woo, or you want to introduce the woo-woo into your business or some aspect of energy or metaphysical or spirituality. Of course, I work with people like this all the time. They want to bring this forward more into their world, into their life, into their business. But there's this, I don't want to upset the apple cart, or I don't want to upset somebody, or someone's not going to like it, or someone's going to judge me, right? And we address that in that other episode. But what I want to talk about is this concept of not your flavor of ice cream, because even if it's in your personal life, we walk around trying to fit in our culture, in society, and conform. And we're doing that so that we can be liked on some level. But what eventually we all will have to reconcile with, whether it's in our business or in our personal lives, personally or professionally, we have to reconcile with the absolute fact that not everybody is going to like us all the time. And I know for me, as a healer and mentor who's in the spiritual metaphysical world, and the woo-woo world. For me personally, I got over that very early, but it wasn't always that way. So when I was in business, I remember working at this one job, oh my God, so many years ago. And I was living in Los Angeles, and there was somebody, it was a very small office. It was one of my probably least favorite jobs I ever had. And there was someone in the office he was kind of like a bully, and by the way, his name did begin with a B in namology, right? We won't go there today, but he was a bully, and he took advantage of my weak spot, which was that I wanted to try to get along and I wanted to like him. And I became a people pleaser. It wasn't because of him I became a people pleaser. This was going on my whole life, right? And so he would bully me to see almost how far he could push me. And at the time, I didn't recognize it. I really didn't. I just was trying to not upset the apple cart in that small work environment, but it never really worked. Eventually, it led to a kind of emotional volatility in the dynamic of the space. And it was revealed, like it became clear and obvious that this guy was instigating. He was an instigator, but it wasn't serving me in that environment. This went on through my whole professional career, even prior to beginning my career as a solopreneur and entrepreneur, where I was really working to try to keep people happy. And of course, that was really going on in my family dynamic growing up, of course, because the instability in the family that I grew up in required me to be a peacekeeper and a people pleaser so that I could not upset the apple cart in a highly volatile family that had so much like drama and chaos going on all the time. And I mean, if anyone has ever related to that, growing up in that kind of environment, that you're just trying to keep some form of sanity in a very insane type of environment that was highly unpredictable, right? Highly uncertain, and did not create a sense of overall safety. Well, those patterns will follow us through into our future. So clearly, I mentioned in my career, in my earlier days, that really was like an ongoing theme. But it wasn't until after I started getting into the metaphysical world where I started to realize everybody that I loved was making fun of me anyway. And I was the black sheep in my family. And I was sort of the one that went off on my own to try to self-soothe and self-nurture outside of the chaos of the family environment. And then I remember when I was going through the divorce, before my business really started, my then ex-husband was really making like fun of me in a way. And I was conscious enough and psychic enough already to know that there was a lot of like judgment. And so I got over it very fast. I once shared about a friend who had, in one of the podcasts, when I told her that I had been enlightened, which that's another conversation too, how she sort of said she couldn't be my friend anymore. So I got very comfortable with like, well, it's rejection. What are you going to do? And I started coming to this realization very early on. I am who I am, and people are either going to like it or not. And I can't concern myself with that because I can't control what other people think. And so when I would run into people and I would meet people who would then sort of tell me what their opinion was of me or what they did or didn't like, I would just think, well, I'm not your flavor of ice cream. And so now in my coaching business and in my mentorship program, I always advise people to sort of just decide what flavor of ice cream you are. And I mean, just metaphorically, right? Or what kind of fruit you are is another way if you want to be a fruit, right? Not everybody likes watermelon, but maybe your flavor is watermelon. Not everybody likes Rocky Road, and maybe that's your flavor. And you just start coming into that acceptance. Like, I am who I am. This is my flavor. This is my brand as a business. This is the message that I'm sharing. This is what I believe in. This is what I stand for. And I know that not everybody is going to approve of it or like it. And that's okay. And so that's what I mean by this conversation, not my flavor of ice cream. Last week, I was in a prayer circle that I often go to, that I enjoy very much. And someone in the circle said, well, you're just too bold. You're just too big. You're just too forceful. And she was referring to the fact that I had mentioned that I can feel other people's walls. And when she shared that with me, it wasn't coming from a place of love and care. Trust me, I can tell, right? She was telling me what she didn't like about me. She was telling me what her issues were that she was projecting on me, because she had issues with abusive partners in her life. And she had an inner bully herself. She was bullying me. And to try consciously, not on purpose, to try to get me to be smaller so she could feel more comfortable. She was essentially saying, well, you won't feel other people's walls if you're not so big. You won't feel, listen, other people's walls are there whether or not I'm big. People have up walls because they're wounded. That's why people put up walls. It's not a healthy boundary like, hey, that's just not for me. Thank you, but no thank you. A wall is, I'm afraid to look at that. I'm afraid for you to get in. I'm afraid for this to be exposed. I'm not ready to handle this. That's like a wall, right? So people have those regardless of whether my energy is big or not, or anyone else's energy is big or not. In that moment, that woman was facing her own shadow and projecting it at me. And my best response, really, in the aftermath was, I understand I'm not your flavor of ice cream. And when you start reconciling with who you are and accepting who you are and what you stand for, both personally and professionally, you're just going to recognize that and own it. You're just not everybody's flavor of ice cream. Now, let me just take this one step further for those of you who are entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and new world leaders, visionaries. The truth is, the spiritual metaphysical realm is still very new to most of humanity. And most of humanity is just starting to understand how to use their intuition, what energy is, how that applies. And so if you are wanting to bring that forward, more of the woo, whether it's the divine feminine or being your inner goddess, or whether it's bringing forward more meditation into your practice, or just sharing about your own spiritual journey with your audience, what you stand for and what you believe in and your convictions, those are going to elevate you as a leader. Those are going to elevate you to your audience, to your community, because they're going to recognize the light that is within you that you're offering through authentic truth, through authentic sharing. So by doing that, you become more of who you are. And for those of you, of your people in your community or on the outskirts of your community, whether it's your family, friends, or just acquaintances you run into a prayer circle or whatever, social media people, if they don't think that, if they don't agree with what you're offering, or they don't necessarily like what you're offering, it's only because you're not their flavor of ice cream. I hope this has been helpful to you. I'm going to sign off for now, and I'm sending you so much love. I'm wishing you your most benevolent best as always. Farewell for now. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for listening today. If you loved the show and if you benefited in any way, if it helped you to up-level or expand your consciousness, if you gained any new insights or ideas, if it made you think or become more aware, or if there were some strategies or intuition that you may have benefited from in any way, would you please do me two easy and simple favors? First, if you would be willing to leave a review, it would mean the world to me. I'd be so grateful. And second, if you're willing to share this show with anyone else who would benefit, you can either post it on your social media or just email it to someone and share it with another person or any other people. It would be so awesome. This kind of thing is so helpful in expanding consciousness on the planet and helping others to benefit from this kind of teaching, which just simply isn't generally readily available in the mainstream. So sharing it really helps others benefit and helps our planet evolve and awaken. Plus, expressing gratitude and generosity in this way will also expand your capacity to give and receive even more. Either way, I just want to say thank you so much for being here and for participating and for sharing, and overall, just for being the magnificent, the spectacular, the brilliant, the fabulous, the wonderful you that you truly are, and for allowing yourself to be the very best version of you today and every day. All my love and gratitude to you.